Don't place a trade based on what you're seeing in this video because there is no guarantees of making a profit in the market. It takes you a long time to become a good trader. So this video here is just to educate you to become a much better trader. Traders, I'm running a free training today and you're going to learn my #1 trading system that gets up with a 90% success rate and how to find these trades using a secret scanning tool and how I can actually have all my trading done in less than 1 hour per day. So I'm running this free web class today. So go to johnslivetraining.com or the very first link in the description right now. Now, the one thing that I was listening to a talk just recently from Dow Jones and Ray Dalio, and I was really listening to what they were saying just recently. And what Dow Jones said is that he recently did an internal poll within his organization, right? Within his hedge fund organization. And they did an internal poll. Now, here is the interesting things. Here's the interesting facts of what the internal poll said. Okay, so this is not where the market's definitely going to go, but this is where his hedge fund said, if Trump gets elected, this is where the market's likely to go. If Trump doesn't get elected, this is where the market's likely to go. Okay, now we all know that Trump is pretty much 100% going to be elected again. I think we all know that. Yes, we are live, and so we're looking at the markets right now, guys. And so here's the interesting, right? So let's go to the S&P 500 here for a minute. When we're looking at the S&P 500. He said this. He said, okay, what they did, they did the internal poll of an internal poll for the S&P 500. Now, if I bring up, say, the 1 year chart here, and I squeeze this up here, I think from memory, I actually watched this yesterday, so I'm just trying to remember the exact number for the downside. So if Trump doesn't get elected, then what's probably likely to happen is that taxes are probably likely to go back up. And that's probably going to be a negative for equities in the markets. So he said that around, I think it was 20, I think he said around 2250 or something like that. I think he said ultimately around 2250. I'm pretty sure. I've got to double check those numbers, but I think it was 2200 of where he thinks he is, where the market's like, oh, if Trump does not get elected. Okay, now we pretty much know that like 90+%, probably even almost close to 100%, we know Trump's likely to be elected, right? So, but if he doesn't get elected, and watch this, okay, watch this. If Trump does not get elected and they start to raise his taxes back up, that's going to be negative for interest rates. And I would say even by looking at a projection line through here, that we can see that we have major level of support through here. So I say that if we start to break below these levels here, all these levels of support, then we're probably likely to get back down here. And I'll talk about that in just a minute there. So we can see that that's what he said on the downside. Now, here's the interesting thing, all right? He said if Trump does get elected again, then the stock market, his projection is up at 3,600. 3,600. Well, I shouldn't use the word projection. I should use the internal poll. That's the number they came up with. If Trump gets elected and they keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, then guess what? We're probably likely to head up to around 3,600 on the S&P 500. That is crazy, right? That is absolute crazy to see what was going on there. Now, the really interesting thing is that when you look at it from a technical point of view, you can see how we are definitely starting to break out, and we're definitely in a very big, sort of nice big bull move through here. So the bull market's probably likely to continue from there. So there we go, guys. It's and I think it was, I forget the exact name of the conference that was happening there, but Dow Jones, Ray Dalio, when they talked, and he said basically that if Trump doesn't get elected, they're probably likely to start raising rates raising taxes. If they start raising taxes again, that's going to be negative for the markets, and then we're probably seeing a down move. If Trump does get elected, which is pretty much almost 100% sort of guaranteed that that's going to happen, then if your view, he said, if your view is that Trump's going to be elected, then his internal polling said that they have a sort of, they believe that the S&P 500 is going to be at 3,600. That's crazy, right? That's absolutely crazy. Now we never, that's not guaranteed, guys. So don't just go out there and start to load up. So, oh, well, Paul said this, even though he's a really, really, really smart investor, and Paul Tudor Jones is absolutely just, incredible in what he does there. And so that's basically what he said there. Now, I remember listening to an interview back here in December, around about here, and I listened to an interview with Paul Tudor Jones. And the interesting thing that I found about with Paul Tudor Jones is that within this time frame, he actually said that if the stock market has a 10% drop, he said that's a layup to buy. Now that was around November, December. If the stock market drops 10%, that's a layup to buy. Now the really interesting thing, right, is that as you can see that from there, we actually end up having a 12-13% drop, and no doubt that he was sort of, again, layup, this is the word that he used, and he bought it. And as you can see, we actually continued on, and then we had a big move from there. So these guys really, really, really know what they're talking about. And when you start to put these two together, it's just like, I've watched this thing 2 or 3 times. I'm probably going to watch it again today because there's so much wealth of knowledge within these guys. Ray Dalio and Paul Tudor Jones, when you start to get these two people talking, you can really pick up some gold nuggets to help you move forward in the markets, which that's ultimately what we want to do, right? We ultimately want to continue to move forward and do well out of the markets. So that's basically what I wanted to cover there with actually the Paul Tudor Jones situation and stuff like that. The whole thing here, guys, is that when these guys talk, listen. Okay, when they talk, listen, and we can see what's happening here. Even if what I want you to take from that concept is that regardless of who gets elected with the next election next year, keep an eye on what they're doing on the taxes. Okay, so if they have to, even if Trump has to start raising taxes back up again, which I don't think it will because he's dropped them, but even if he has to do that, that's going to be a negative for the equity market. Okay, so a tax decrease was actually a positive, was a positive for the actual equity market itself. And so that's basically what you want to keep going there and keep focusing on there. So there we go, guys. That's what's going on through there. If we do get we're looking at these markets here, okay, and looking at the actual stock market itself, we can actually start to see that we're getting a very nice breakup through here, and we're just going sideways on a short-term basis through here, guys. Let me just talk through here. Now, on a short-term basis, through here, you can see that we're pretty much just going sideways now after this move up, and I'll talk about that in just a minute about trading and the stock market itself. But we can see we had a nice move up, and now we're just going sideways, really just having a bit of a sideways movement before it decides what it wants to do again. And so we can see that through there. And also if we have a look at the Dow Jones as well too. So the Dow Jones has indeed had a nice move up. We've had just a little bit of a pullback. We can see how we're sort of slowing down with momentum. And what I mean by that is that we had a move up, then a nice smooth pullback, and then we had a continued move up. And now we're just getting this sort of choppy action through here. So trying to predict the exact what's going to happen tomorrow and all that sort of stuff is very, very, very difficult to do. And so you wouldn't want to try to be doing that, especially in this period where we are going sideways. We want to wait for the market to start to trend again and then sort of jump on that trend there. And so that's basically what the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 are doing, and also the Nasdaq as well too. Pretty much we had this move up, very, very, very nice move up. And then suddenly we're starting to get this bit of a slowing down, right? We continue to move up, and now we're just slowly going sideways through there on the actual stock market itself through there. If we have a look at the actual really big picture, like the real big picture here on the weekly chart perspective, we can see how the Nasdaq has indeed actually broken out of this level here. So what we're looking at here is this market rallying up, and then now it's having a bit of a pause through here. When we're looking at this market pausing, it's generally likely to be sort of just going sideways and relaxing through there, and from that there we're probably likely to continue up in that fashion there. Man, I can't talk today. Say for the S&P 500, we're actually having a nice break up, and we're going sideways through here. Just a bit of resting, I believe, before we probably likely to start to continue up. If Paul Tudor Jones is right with his internal polling, then we have a lot more upside to come. And then same for the Dow Jones as well too. Dow Jones on a short term, on a overall basis, we can see how it just came back down to these major levels of support. Major levels of support through here, and we can see that that's what's going on right now within the flow of the Dow Jones. So I still have a target of around, the interesting thing is Paul Tudor Jones internal polling says 3,600, but on a technical basis, I still have a target here around 29,000. So interesting to see that we're having a nice move up, having a nice pullback right where we are right now, having a little bit of a bounce. Maybe a bit more sideways period for maybe just a little while, and then I believe we're on our way up to maybe 29, maybe even overshoot to 30,000. The interesting thing is that the S&P 500, if the S&P 500 got to that 3,600, right? That's actually a 15% rise in the S&P. A 15% rise in the Dow Jones would be, wow, there you go. 32,000. So I know that sounds pretty crazy, right? Because if you've been listening to the news lately and what's been happening lately in the markets, right? You think, how can the market keep going up? It just can't keep going up. Well, the market can keep going up longer than you think it can. That's the reason why, if the market is going up and it's stepping up, don't try to short it and try to pick tops. Because if you've been following certain people on YouTube that have been trying to call the top every single month, first it was the number calculations, then it was something else, then it was chart patterns. Like, a chart pattern gives you a probability of something that's likely to happen. Doesn't mean it's definitely going to happen, and so on and so forth. So don't try and short the market right now, guys. If you're just doing that, you're gambling, and you're just going to get your hand handed to you. Just be patient. Just be patient and wait for those really good opportunities. And the last thing you want to do, guys, is try to get involved with these markets when you're just, I need to make money, because that's the last thing you want to do. You want to make sure you stay calm, keep your powder dry. When the time's right, strike, get in, get out, make some money, and go from there.